Hello and welcome everyone to the North American Challengers League week number 7, the final week, man. It's come and gone so fast. That means we are playoffs bound. For the cast and Des, my name is Des Rooks. Joining me, of course, it's going to be Mad, Magical, and Cubby. Cubby, I see you're doing fine after the shenanigans last night with Mazelle's wedding.
I mean, I was gonna not bring it up and maybe encourage some people to go follow at MazelleCast to go see the good news. But yeah, I'm doing well. It was great to see you there, Desirux. And congrats to our coworker Mazelle, who you can go see the news on his Twitter.
Congrats to Lennon, but I gotta call him out. He invited me at like 9 o'clock to come over, and I'm like already out to dinner with my girlfriend, and I'm like,
oh, okay.
I wish you had told me, because I would have totally gone up. I would have brought her along, too.
Yeah. Well, we missed you. It was a lot of fun, though. And congrats to Lennon and Nenny, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations, then. But I just got to say, this might be the most dad energy NACL broadcast I think I've ever seen. Usually we have Sierra here, who kind of like balances things out with the Force. But man, we fully committed here.
I gotta say, you flipped a coin, it landed on Sweater Vest. I got excited, and then Matt Magical's like, can I be a professor? And oh my god, we have a great mug too. Wow. That is unbelievable, man. I will say, mine for the day is at least League of Legends themed. So, you know, discount code Alpha. That's all I'll say.
Hey.
I just got a black cup. It's safe, it's brand friendly. We're good. Let's get going.
Are you saying mine's not brand friendly?
Okay, yours is definitely completely on brand. You quack anytime you breathe, Alex.
All right. Well, I guess this is the joys that we have to look forward to today. As Desirux, I believe, as Sierra put it so kindly, your job today is to
manage the daycare.
That is correct.
Both of you too. Yeah. So, you know what? She's giving me some pointers. She's taught me how to, especially with Alex here, you can be a little bit unhinged every now and then.
Me? Unhinged?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, come on, Alex. You know, I'm going to change the topic before you go on one of your tangents. Let's talk about the talent update, because we got a special edition one we sent over to the LCS. Kangas will be the host for this one, so let's pull that up right now.
Hello and welcome to another NA Talent Update. Kicking things off, we had the NACL Qs last weekend, and Maryville University actually took the first qualifiers. So, shout out to the school kids. Speaking of, we had a lot of movement between LCS and Challengers last week, so let's send it to Professor Magical to see how he graded the newcomers.
What is it? Can't you see I'm busy?
We had some exchange students submit some last-minute work.
Fine. Thinky, I thought he retired.
Oh, that's Diplex. I mean, look here. Across the 6 games, he's got the second highest damage share in the whole league.
All right, you know what? He gets an A. Ah, Spawn, my old student.
Oh, he's actually looked pretty good this past weekend. You know, struggling a bit in LCS, but now he gets to play with his old teammates, XU and Sanity, who they made to Proving Grounds finals last summer with, actually.
Spawn gets a B+ then. Win some.
Oh, this is a great one. He, ever since joining this roster, they've gone 4-0, and it looked like a brand new team.
A+.
He's not actually a doctor. He's just esports certified. And on that topic, certain orgs are certifiably killing it this split. But how well has Rafa been paying attention? Previously.
Hey, Rafa, have you seen how good FlyQuest are doing?
Of course. They're like #1 in the league right now, dude.
Not LCS. FlyQuest Challengers. Check this out. With Alo finally here, Winsome's in and can shot call for the team. On top of that, Masu the Wi-Fi wizard is finally in LA, and he's looking incredible.
Hey, Golden Guardians. They're on a hot streak, too.
You mean like 7-game win streak Golden Guardians?
Come on, man. It's Challengers. Check this out. In the last 3 weeks, Golden Guardians Challengers are 9-3. Their rookie Young has gained a lot of confidence after his LCS appearance. And Prismo and Array are really doing better in their sophomore split.
So, only the top LCS teams have good Challengers teams.
Well, Dignitas are in second.
And did you see? XU played in Italy.
But the Challengers teams aren't the only ones impressing us this split, as some of the provisional teams have really stepped up their game. So to commemorate that, we're happy to introduce a brand new product hitting store shelves soon.
Now that's what I call provisional. 6 of NA's hottest new superstars with smash hits like Moose Haters, carrying on my wayward son. There'll be justice when you're done. Limit-defying tracks like Minui's. And for a limited time, playoffs Gamsu. I don't know if it's true, but I'm feeling Gamsu. Get some of the best provisional teams to top the NACL charts. Order today.
Well, that's it for this week's NA Talent Update. Thanks for tuning in, and as always, may your week be filled with positive gaming experiences. I'm feeling Gamsu.
So, what do you think, guys? Multi-platinum? You think I'm gonna top any charts with that one?
Ooh, I mean, you definitely topped Kangas's chart there at the end. He was jamming. That's actually we were jamming too beforehand as well. You know, obviously not anything else. Those songs,
Yeah,
exactly.
I was
Exactly,
definitely
exactly.
jamming on my guitar that I have.
No, Alex, we got to talk about getting esports certified. How do we get that across there? I want to join you with that.
First off, start in 2017 casting, then cast for a couple of years for a team, and then after that, just kind of go across and you cast European Masters, LPL, and now NA. So
Wow, that's actually
It's-
that's pretty hard. I was thinking it was going to be like 5 easy payments of like $69.99, something like that. So that's actually that might be easier.
definitely not how I got it.
Okay, well, congrats.
It's a tough climb to get that certification, but it's also tough to climb the standings, as we're going to pull that up right now to take a look at how things have been going so far in the season. As we said, this is the last week of the regular season. Personally, my eyes are on the top two because I have a bet with Josh. Cloud9 finished first. I am fine. He shaves his beard. If Dignitas win, I got to shave mine.
Ooh.
I thought you were gonna go with shave heads, and I'm like, Eric, you just got the best deal, didn't you?
I'm gonna go with rip Josh's beard.
Ooh,
I
okay.
feel that as well. We got plenty of bangers coming up. Anything other than those two that pop out? I know in the middle of the pack we have quite the competitive split right now. There's I believe through 3rd and 7th, every team has 6 series wins, so they're one of the most volatile areas.
I'll say, looking from CLGC all the way to Fly C, that's going to be exciting, especially if you're looking at playoffs, right? Because every team will make playoffs. We'll always keep reiterating this, but it's about seeding going in. And for FlyQuest, even though they're at 9 seed right now, we talked about how they got the 4-0 last week. They looked absolutely dominating. Just having Winsome in got them a whole identity. So if you're any team that's on the top half of the standings, you don't want to face that kind of team. But then again, FlyQuest are now only 1 game behind 3 teams of getting themselves into the upper half.
Gubby, any standouts?
Immortals versus EG is going to be later today. A couple of those teams looking to pick up some wins. Not to mention TLF. I know it might be 4-22 in the standings, but they actually take on CLG Faith today and FlyFam later this week. So the TL, I know that they've been licking their chops, waiting for this week, try and get some wins on the board, and it could be a good confidence boost for them going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think those bottom 3, it's definitely going to be something you want to watch. It's going to be a lot of hype matchups. FlyFam, they got a good schedule against some of these teams over in the bottom half of the bracket. Curious to see how much they're able to pull things up. But let's get on to those matches of the day so we can start dealing with brass tacks here. First match is going to be Team Liquid first, taking on Counterlogic Gaming Faith. Second match of the day, Fear. Yeah, it's the first in Faith that always gets it. Fear.
And then Fam.
Yeah, Fear Fam. I'm just going to say that now. Cincinnati Fear versus 100 Thieves Challengers will be our second match, and we'll end it off on the day with Evil Geniuses Challengers versus Immortals Challengers. But let's talk about that first one. Team Liquid first versus CLG first, right? I mean, both of these teams... It's been a rough season to say the least, right, Alex?
Yes. However, I think it's still very exciting. As Cubby pointed out, for Team Liquid first, this is their confidence boost moment. You want to make sure you're picking up these wins against the teams that are behind you in the standings, go strong into playoffs so you can upset a lot of the bracket. That's the whole idea with having every team in playoffs. Just because you had a poor showing in the season doesn't necessarily mean that's going to correlate to how you do in playoffs.
And I've got to say, like, we do have every team getting put into the double elimination bracket. I don't have super high hopes for some of our lower provisional teams, but all it takes is 1 or 2 best of 3s. Keep in mind that the bottom 4 provisional teams from after playoffs, not regular season, they're the ones that go to the promotion relegation tournament. So I'm pretty confident that, our teams like Fear and Wildcard can still be good in playoffs, but all it's going to take is 1 or 2 slip-ups to maybe have one of the front runners that we had in regular season end up in that promotion relegation tournament.
Yeah, things can get devastating if you are not careful. Again, it is the final week, and these standings are quite volatile. Let's pull up the roster so we can talk about this in a little bit more detail, starting off with Team Liquid first. You know, it's the end of the season, and this is far from the results we're hoping for from this roster. You can definitely see the idea coming into the split, picking up the talent that they had with the TL tryouts, but now it's the end of the split, new marksman, LJX. It's still rough waters, Cubby.
And this is a team where LJX stepping in later. I mean, obviously late roster changes, something that has happened to all of our bottom 3 provisional teams now. Not ideal, but it still is something where we cannot help but keep on talking about Surdy when it comes to Team Liquid first. He is the first thing that comes to mind. It really feels like Surdy may be one of the best, if not the best laning, like top laner that we have when it comes to laning and his laning phase. He has been so good this year. It's something where I stopped by Team Liquid Challenger scrims this week. They were even talking about, how good Surdy is, and Bradley was talking about how it's really good practice to go into him as well. This guy has had an outstanding split, really made a case for himself to maybe be considered at the Challengers levels moving forward, I should say.
Yeah, and isn't he towards the top of like the gold diff at 15, XP diff at 15 of all top? Like, I'm not saying he's the top, but he's in like the top 4 or 5, even though he's on a team that is in the bottom 3.
Yeah, he would be 6th in that, but he was
close.
He was higher up earlier in the split, and still the fact that he's averaging being up gold at 15, he has been playing a little bit more Scion and weak side of late to kind of help the team. So I think a little bit's been draft too, but yeah, Surdy again laning very, very well.
I mean, Team Liquid have had some pretty good highlights. I think Aspect is another one of those, but I agree completely. All things considered, for TLF's spot, Surdy has been more consistent for this roster and for this team. A lot of Team Liquid's first wins have come from playing from that top side and empowering it, Alex.
Yeah, and you could, like Cubby was saying, Surdy's lane phase really does help out the team when they need to find these leads to play aggressively, because like you look at matchups like this one right here, where they took down Fear. A big upset for the CLF team. That is a massive stepping stone. They had a really tough schedule last week because they had to face off against CLG Challengers and Cloud9 Challengers. So it's hard to, fully quantify how much the success in this game carried over, but that's why we're looking at this week, how they can perform, how we especially can look at this top side of the map for Surdy. If he can take it to town against, Bajani and really show that there's a wide canyon between the two of them, we'll continue to sing his praises going into playoffs.
All right, up next will be CLG Faith. They will be the opponents for the day. And for this roster, I mean, it's hard to find consistency when your roster keeps changing, but it seems we've reached our final form with CLGF, Town returning to the team in the mid lane over the last 2 weeks. Now that we've had some time to simmer on this, how are we feeling about it, Cubby?
I know that, like, from talking with CLG Faith and, Sketch as well, this is a team that feels like they're getting closer to putting wins on the board. And, again, it stinks to be in a team where your regular season, you've put up 1 win, right? That's definitely something that is...
And it was against Fly Fam, the team that's just 1 game above them right now.
Yeah, it's definitely something that has been a mental grind, but in the past couple weeks, it's not like CLG Faith have had games where they haven't seen leads. Like, there have been a few games where they've actually been able to at least have the chance to play. They haven't been able to convert all those leads to wins, but we have at least seen some better moments from this team, and we're really hoping to see that as we get closer to playoffs, because again, all they have to do is win 1 or 2 surprise series, and maybe they can find themselves not in that promotion relegation tournament.
And you were talking about that bot lane Sketch streams. Oh, well, Sketch. I get into the habit of calling him Sketch streams, old name. He took this role because he naturally fits in with vocal shot calling, something that suits a lot of support players. Despite all the turmoil, you've had these moments where Sketch and Aaron have outfought a lot of our bigger bottom lanes. More noticeably, this play right here that you see with Kitong and Masu. It does speak to Sketch's capabilities, Alex.
It does, and this is why when we look at how CLG Faith have been growing, a lot of it has been from the bot lane since, Aaron being the dedicated ADC, Sketch being able to go into the dedicated role of support, they have looked really strong. And this is where if they're going to win, it has to be how they play through the bot lane, which is completely counter to that of TLF, which want to play around the top side, really utilize Surdy to get these leads. So you almost have this strange dichotomy between the two teams on how well they can play their own side of the map.
And again, this is provisional versus provisional, two teams that are towards the bottom of the standings. So, if the wins didn't mean that much before, they mean so much more now. And, that's putting it very, very lightly to that regard. You still want to climb that ladder as best as you can so you can get that better seeding, because these teams at the top end are not going to pull their punches.
I will say one thing, though, just to kind of cut you off, Covey, is that sadly for these three teams at the bottom, no matter how well they do in this final week, they're not getting out of the bottom three.
Yeah. I don't think the seeding matters that much when you're going to face C9 or Dignitas right off the bat. That's a crappy
Right.
matchup. Both those teams very strong in Challengers League. But hey, you know what? Mental matters. Confidence matters. That's something that each of these teams have lacked. That's something that I know TLF was licking their chops for, looking at their schedule this week, because they felt like this would be a week where they could build up some of that confidence going into playoffs.
I mean, I was talking to some of the members of CLGF, and one of the things they were saying was, even though they were losing a lot of these matches and it's been a rough season, they go into every match with a goal in mind on what they want to improve on and what they want to expand on, and they keep reevaluating that after the match to make sure that they're getting some forward progress, even with the rough waters they've been having to split.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to be too positive with these teams, only because, like I said, the wins aren't really going to matter for placement, unless, of course, we see CLG Faith get this massive 4-0 this week to take away that spot from Team Liquid first, which could happen. And that's the whole idea, I think, with the bottom three teams, is avoiding both Cloud9 and Dignitas. But it's more, as Cubby keeps talking about, the reason why we want to be positive of these teams is not for the standings, but for what it can mean going into playoffs and the momentum you're going to have. Because even if you lose, say, to Cloud9 or Dignitas, imagine they take a game off of them. Imagine they have a series that's really close. That's going to be a huge mental confidence boost for the entire team. So when they go into the lower bracket, they're going to be like, hey, if we can take it to Cloud9 or Dignitas, no team in the lower half is going to stand a chance.
So I still want to keep this on the topic of standings, though. Even though you think it doesn't matter as much, I'm inclined to agree a little bit. I think it's still more of a mental thing at the end of the day. I believe it's only the bottom three that have the greatest chance of changing at the moment. All those teams being within 3 wins of each other. That's TL First, FlyFam, and CLG Faith. And yeah, 2 of those teams are doing battle right now within the next couple of moments.
I mean, it is posturing, but still, you're fighting the face C9 or Dig. For me, that's really that. It is a difference.
You are fighting technically to not fight them if you get the 14th.
You get the 14th.
Fight the other. Yeah. I mean, if that happens, then that's great. You get to face an assortment of what Golden Guardians, 100 Thieves, or Fear. We'll see how the rest of the week plays out. Still a pretty tough matchup, as all those teams, especially Fear, have really earned their spot in the league. But again, for these teams, we have been grading them on a little bit of a different structure, I guess, given a lot of the experience of the players. I mean, CLG Faith, besides NXI, not a very experienced team. TLF, besides Surdy, someone Aspect. Not an Aspect took a break, right?
I was about to say Aspect took a whole year off.
Yeah, not a very experienced team, right? Rovex has that experience, but it's his first time playing at this level too. And of course, a lot of that experience was from his time when he was a mid laner and collegiate too. So it has been. We've been looking at these teams a little bit differently throughout this split, and I'm really hoping that moving forward, we can see that improvement so that we can actually treat them the way that we treat some of our other provisional teams that have been good, or even AoE, who, it's not like they're the best team that we have in the league, but still sitting at 10 and 14, they're a team to look out for, a team that's respectable, a team that does good things. We haven't really gotten that feeling from these 3 provisional teams at the bottom, and today I know with TLF and CLGF facing each other, each team does have a chance to prove that, we can put a couple of good games together. CLG Faith, hey, maybe we can convert one of those leads to a win. And for TLF, maybe they keep on improving, keep on playing better. Aspect, I think, it was a good call out. Desterux, he's definitely been improved for the team lately.
All right. Well, Twitch chat, let us know who you think is going to win. I see the faithful have come in full force to root for them. Consider me the bus driver for the time being, because I'm going to go drop you off at the venue now. Have fun at your first match, and that is CLG Faith versus TL First.
Wow.
Well, if you're a bus driver, doesn't that imply you have multiple stops on the route? So I wonder where the next stop would be.
No, I gotta say, he made a joke about professors. We're just on a field trip now, man. Magical.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
So, we're on a field trip. We're going to see how these players do. I mean, I kind of want to bring back a point you were talking about, like looking at Rovex. And this is a player that I do want to highlight a little bit more, especially as we get close to playoffs, because wasn't he on the the AGT team, the AoE Ginger Turmeric team?
No, that was DK. Rovex was on Taco Gaming though.
That's what it was. That's what it was.
Won the second OQ in summer last year.
Yes. So he's got, like, I mean, it's not the most experience, right? But he is starting to get that experience under his belt that he can probably help out a lot, especially with LJX, the new ADC that's stepped in for Mia. And looking at how this bot lane can really perform, especially up against Aaron and Sketch, a bot lane that we were hyping up beforehand, like as this good element of this team that's at the bottom of the standings, would be a great showing for Rovex.
And I mean, bot lane again, I feel like Sketch has been a bit of a bright spot for CLGF, especially his Blitzcrank game gave them a chance to beat TSM. Would have been a really big deal for them to take a game. CLGF, of course, still looking for that second win of the split. Have one more week to do so before we move into the best of portion of our season, where things get really exciting. And folks, if the picks and bans look a little bit different this time around, that's because much like LCS, we are on 13.4, something we haven't really talked about. We're going to see things change quite a bit, and that is a first pick Karthus.
Yeah, that's a city special as well. Really changing up the meta. I mean, yeah, Maokai is out of the meta completely with the nerfs that he received, as well as Demonic Embrace. Elise probably not going to be as likely as we had seen beforehand.
Oh boy.
But this is where we're seeing the shifts. Okay, I'm gonna let you take this because 13-4, we were talking beforehand, Senna being very powerful.
We're out in full force. Senna, really good. And the fun thing about Senna right now is that the Sion, the Cho'Gath, still very strong top laners. Even Malphite saw some buffs this patch, and I think was getting played a little bit. Those champs can actually pair with Senna. Now, it's going to be a Seraphine for CLG. This is something that Sketch played when he was a marksman. I'm curious if Sketch is actually going to be on the Senna or the Seraphine, given that Sketch does have marksman point in his background. This, of course, can be flex mid as well. We have a Senna Seraphine comp for CLG Faith, and that's going to put pressure on TLF to do things early.
Because even if you have the Karthus, which is a great scaling champion, you have to deal with Senna and Seraphine. Absolute monsters where any damage you have as Karthus is going to be absorbed by all the heals and shields they both provide. And so looking up the spot lane, we have a little bit of power picked up with that Varus, but I think what will really indicate where the Seraphine is going to go is what Rovex wants to play in this bot lane, because something we were talking about beforehand is how Sion and Cho'Gath have been very meta right now. The flexibility they provide for team comp as well can really help out a team if they want to flex that into the bot lane with the Senna comp or keep it for Bajani and top.
They should just pick Sion now. Yeah, no,
there it is.
Sion. It's Varus, it's Jace, that's a lot of poke. You're going to get Sion banned away from you. I really like the fact that CLG Faith grabbed that now. So they have this big backline in the Seraphine Senna already with Sion, who, of course, is that ball of stats that can't stand in front. His goal is going to be to block the poke from the Jace, from the Varus, and make sure that he's staying safe. They have a couple bans now that they can use to protect that Sion as well. So still taking away the Jax. They did see a couple nerfs, but we're still seeing pop up in pro play. And that honestly puts a lot of pressure on TLF to put this Jace in the mid lane, because that is not a good matchup with Sion.
No, see, this is where I like that Jax ban, because I was about to say, normally when you think the Jace is going to go top lane, especially for Surdy, a player that loves to play a lot of these carry top sides, but the fact that Sion is showing on the other side, either Bajani is going to play it or it's going to be in the bot lane, something that we were kind of highlighting beforehand, but I also want to touch on some of the bans coming in from TLF. Kindred towards NXI. We saw Lee Sin earlier. They're really trying to hit at this champion pool of NXI, realizing, especially now that we see the comp, this is going to be reliant on how NXI plays, because they're going to want to carry for NXI with all this supportive and beefy front wall.
They're going to want to maybe take away another potential invader of NXI. Of course, anyone that can get up in the face of Karthus early, pretty good. So it doesn't surprise me to see the Graves taken off the board. Synergizes rather well with the Seraphine too. But I would not be surprised to actually see Velvet.
Actually, this would work. This would work with this composition. I was thinking, I'm like, Velvet seems a little spicy. But with how everything else is on the team, and again, having a carry, something that can really perform strong. Well, instead, they decided to go for Xin Xiao. When NXI was on... Yeah, when NXI was on FlyQuest, 2 years ago, this was a champion that he played a ton of and probably was one of his best performing champs at the time.
I think Zin's a little bit sleeper right now, and again, you're up against the poke, so you can pop that Crescent Guard and eat a Shock Blast, eat a Piercing Arrow. Doesn't matter. And I'm really curious now if this will force LJX to go for the on-hit build, because that feels really bad against Senna plus Seraphine. So Varus already kind of in a tough spot this game. We're going to have Leona taken for Engage. Again, TLF, they need to play a little bit earlier in the game. I want to see Camille here. Take Camille for Surdy. You can attack the Senna Seraphine later in the game with that. I don't love the Cho'Gath because you can use Seraphine to actually kite out Cho'Gath quite a bit. It does make life a lot harder for the Xin Zhao, and it is a great pick into Sion. I'm a huge fan of Cho'Gath right now, so it's more of how it works with the Seraphine, right?
Right.
It's pretty tough to play Cho into Seraphine, so will be something that Surdy has to be careful of moving forward, but still, that is a big front line now for a somewhat lower damage composition that CLG Faith now has to deal with.
Plus, looking at Sion, can be flexed around still. Probably not likely, especially now that we're seeing the Aurelia showing. So that is going to be Bajani on Aurelia, I believe.
No,
Let's see
it's going to be Town.
Is it? Oh, it's going to be Town. Oh.
So that should be Town's Aurelia. We're going to make sure that we can continue with the pick band. We'll get any updates for you here. But should be Aurelia mid into the Jace.
Interesting.
And really curious if we might see some shenanigans early, because you can actually swap... could play around with the matchups a little bit, try and get Cho behind. Aurelia, first 3 waves, does murder Cho. If you try and pull off a dive, that could be pretty good. So maybe we see something funky, but probably not, as it will be just Aurelia in the short lane against Jace. Not as good as the long lane, but still, you will have pressure if you are CLG Faith.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it is Aurelia. Just gonna say that right now. Just waiting for everything. We haven't heard word about exactly what's going on, but looking at this composition, I feel like we were talking about kind of low damage comp for CLG Faith initially. Now that you have this Xin Zhao and Aurelia, there's so much more that they can utilize. The carry potential of both these champions, when you have Senna, Seraphine on your side as well as a great frontline like Sion, you can dive onto this backline pretty easy that wants to poke you. You talked about the poke that you have with Varus and Jace. Varus, I'm gonna be surprised if it's on hit, honestly. Just because even on hit into a Senna Seraphine bot lane, you're just gonna get harassed before you can even get in range to get a single auto attack in the first place.
Yeah, all right. Well, we looks like we have a short pause for lag, so hopefully that is figured out quickly, so we can get into the game. I do like what you're saying about the Senna Seraphine, Mad Magical. I do want to get back to that, as you're right. Varus is limited in range when it comes to what he has to do against this comp if he is going to go on hit, and that's really tough to play around Sion, Senna, Seraphine. Also, not having any peel. I mean, Cho'Gath will help quite a bit with the peel, but you're going to have to mostly move yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's situational. It's not like it's the best. And you have Leona that can also function as somewhat of a peel tool, but again, limited in scope that it can really do, especially with how mobile both Xin Zhao and Aurelia are going to be.
And it's going to be tricky for the side of TLF, because when you think about how these fights are going to play out, Senna, Seraphine, like, they don't really have a ton of threat on them besides poke, right?
Right.
And I think the game plan for TLF, like, when you have a Cho'Gath, Xin Zhao and Aurelia both have to jump in. So when they jump in, it's silence, it's knock up, and it's trying to eat one of them, and then play the fight from there. So I think that on the side of TLF, a lot of it's going to be about landing that poke, hoping it sticks. They need a lead for that. And then for CLG, it's going to make sure that, you know, that poke is being tanked by the Sion, by the Xin Zhao, and then trying to make sure that that Seraphine Senna can play these elongated fights well. Because the longer the fight goes, these two champions do disgusting things when it comes to all the healing and the damage they can put out. So really want to see if CLG can play those fights slow enough to extend things and put another win on the board.
But then this is where we have to switch the conversation over TLF, right? You talk about this early game, that if they can accelerate things right out of the gate, even though you have Karthus, right? A champion that you want to scale up a little bit into the game, he's still going to pack a punch. It's not like he's any slouch when it comes to mid-game. People always kind of forget that. He does still an insane amount of damage mid-game. It's just obviously as the game gets further, he does even more. But we look at how TLF want to play, and if you can get this poke to land from Jace and Varus before we see the scaling of both Seraphine and Senna, they're not going to be able to out-sustain all that poke that's constantly unleashed on them.
Yeah, and I think the good thing for the side of the Karthus as well is that you were, like, the mid-game's good, but the thing with Karthus is that you just need access to as many resources as possible.
Right.
So, like, a lot of the thing for Karthus is make sure that you maintain control of the map. So even more importance on that TLF early game as you're hitting on Because we need to make sure it goes their way so that Karthus continues to get access to camps and can continue to scale into this game.
And here we go. Sorry about the delay, but we are here on the Rift. Everyone has gone for a typical line of scrimmage. Boring.
30 seconds until minions
Boring?
spawn.
That's all you got, Mad Magical?
A summoner has
How many times do I have to see this, Cubby?
Well, we're figuring it out. But
How many times until I get my level 1 full-on fight where everyone dies on both teams?
we're figuring it out. That's all I'll say. Now, something that we do have to look out for, of course, did have that question in draft. Who's going to be piloting this Senna? Will it be Aaron or Sketch? It looks like it will be Aaron. And guys, I think Senna is going to be a champ that we see quite a bit of in this patch, given some of the changes that we saw to Senna. The big one, a little bit more attack speed. So that's kind of nice, but also that ultimate cooldown, yeah, that was actually made stronger and importantly brought down 20 seconds rank 1. So more globals from Senna will be nice. And yeah, she's a champion.
Well, a little bit more damage too.
Yeah, it's actually a lot more damage.
I wasn't going to say it that way,
yeah,
but...
it's pretty damn good. So Senna is back, and we'll see if this Senna Seraphine can be piloted well by Sketch and Aaron.
As right now, have an interesting start from both junglers on their reds respectively. But NXI, I kind of am curious with how he's posturing, going for Krugs before red buff, if maybe that's a play to look for something mid lane.
I think that he's just playing to actually get his camps back early on, the AoE ones. So expecting a little bit of a elongated clear here from NXI.
Yeah, as doing pretty much that, saying a full clear from Karthus, but he actually is looking for a play bot lane, perhaps. Kind of hovering around there. They've already got pretty good ward setup to help this out, but they're playing far back. Sketch and Aaron are playing very conservatively, even if they have a push that will slowly be working for them. But that's a nice flash from Rovex, targeting Sketch. No way
Early
out.
flash.
First blood for City Witty.
The aggression from the Karthus, though, and Rovex, again, I know that when talking with Rovex in his last interview, he was really looking forward to this patch coming out because Engagers were going to be back. Rovex pulls the trigger immediately, and first blood goes over to that Karthus.
And honestly, probably the best player to get first blood onto, right, is Karthus. Getting as much gold there as possible. But NXI, like you said, City with low mana, could have looked like a play. But they decided to recall off of that one. But yeah, I kind of want to talk a little...
Hold on. Honestly, that's pretty big by CLG's bot lane. If you take a peek, they actually were able to freeze it. And so Varus actually stuck around and split recall. So the fact that this wave wasn't handled as well as it could have been for TLF might actually lead to some headaches because NXI, he's still in the neighborhood. He's got bot crab spawning soon. And LGX, he wasn't able to reset. That's a big deal.
Yeah. That it actually, especially, oh man, the lane being frozen like that by Sketch. Well played.
It'll come back now, but yeah, CLG played that really well.
It's just a nice play, and in fact, look at this. Aaron is looking to help out NXI and possibly even look for a mid lane play onto Aspect.
Not able to be found, as Aaron will be spotted there, and while all this is going on, you can see Surdy already stepping up against Bejani. Cho'Gath destroys this matchup. He won it on the last patch, and for whatever reason, despite being very strong and somewhat sleeper OP, Cho'Gath received more buffs. So now he is definitely OP.
Well, I think the whole thing with the buffs where you're like, it wasn't on purpose, knowing that he was going to be so sleeper OP. They're like, oh, we should buff him. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh, he's strong already.
It's, I really don't know how this guy got buffs. Now, you have to return actually to these camps because keep in mind these are the respawn Raptors and Krugs. You can see City's just getting in there and he just bullies NXI straight up off his buffs, whereas Bejani.
Surdy was able to land the Rupture. Lower mana cost, and that's a lot of damage. One more flashed away by Bejani.
Well played by Surdy, who even in the tank matchup, Mad Magical, still able to find some solo lane advantages on his own. Now, I will say, CLG, they did hold that bot wave in a really good spot, so LGX is behind early. It is something that's kind of a consolation prize here for CLG, and honestly, the one thing that's keeping them in things in this early game.
And this is kind of what we talked about between these two teams, how they like to play. It's usually more of the top lane focus, even though City did make that play bot lane initially. It's City, the jungler, getting the ahead, and this is a point I wanted to bring up before, right? We look at City, and he hasn't had like the most pop-off performance in this split so far. But when he does look really good, he looks damn good for a player that hasn't really had any experience on this level of competition. Especially when he plays his own champions like this Karthus, it seems like if he just gets to play Karthus, he's the best jungler that we have.
He's had a couple hit and miss games, but the hits have been big. And yeah,
Yes.
I mean, he's been playing his own champs for the whole split too. This is we now have Karthus tied for his most played, and he's played 15 unique champions.
Oh, wait a minute.
Hold on.
City finding NXI.
Kinda caught.
Is he, though? Because Rovex is there to save his life. They've got the knockup, but City decides to continue the fight, looking for the play afterwards. And here's
Aspect's
Aspect
here.
already roaming around, looking for Aaron, who's completely caught with his pants down.
Okay, one for one trade as that empowered piercing arrow goes wide. City just found Xin Zhao. I don't know. Xin was going to be on that side of the map. City already won on that clear by taking the Raptors, so kind of surprised that he was walking up there without bot lane control. It ends up being a 1-for-1 as Aspect was able to roam down, but honestly for TLF, not great. You don't want that Karthus to be off the map at any points.
Oh, he's got to constantly be farming, constantly looking for plays. That way he can get to level 6. With first strike as well, getting more gold to escalate that late game that we were talking about earlier. But let's take a look at the replay. He's spotted by a ward, and it's just a nice play from NXI, realizing that he was rotating up.
Well done. Xin does win that. And somehow Aaron and Sketch did get first move. That ended up being really important as they focus everything down on the Karthus. They run away from him, get him the reset, take the fast base to the gray screen as Aaron sacks himself. And it will at least be a dragon as Karthus gets out of base, killing this before Herald spawns. Well played for TLF. And hopefully for Herald, you can still see if TLF wants to fight that. Keep in mind, Shogath is ahead, and Requiem should be available.
So as City takes down this dragon, oh, interesting. Surdy was there as well. Has to TP back to the top lane.
That's fine. I mean, Surdy, he's chilling in this matchup
Yeah,
right now.
oh yeah, I was just more surprised to see him there.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, was he actually necessary?
Not sure, but either
Oh
way.
no. Oh, I know what it is. It's the greedy Cho'Gath play. Okay, how much Cho'Gath have you ever played?
Oh, I play a lot of Shogath. I used to play this thing in the Renekton. You can take double armor Quince, and it's really good.
Okay, but I love that you mentioned Quince. Oh my god, it's been a while since that.
Or Quince? Okay, my bad. Runes. Yeah.
No,
that's the era I played Shogath in.
See, Quince just harkens back to the old rune pages, so I think of that. And I'm like, hey, I remember that. But what I was going to say is the greedy Cho'Gath play, because I've played every champion that you can imagine, right? And the greedy Cho'Gath
And
play
every build you can imagine.
is what you do is no matter what's happening in your own lane, if you have Feast up and you see a neutral objective being taken, you rotate down for that free stack.
Oh, okay.
It's you want every stack possible, so you'll sack your lane if you have to. Like, unfortunately here, shouldn't be able to take this, but
oh boy,
there are 4 members. That's a huge knockup from Surdy. Here comes the Requiem. Will tickle. Not doing too much damage just yet, but Shelly, with how the changes are, that's a reset. She's going to go right back, as you can see, completely healing up. Bajani tries to re-engage. Encore flashed away by Rovex, but the poke into the backline. The re-engage from Rovex. The kill onto Bajani, even with the Vanguard's edge, will not stop this fight. Go in TLF's favor as they continue to harass Surdy. He's just a god. He is unkillable. Cho'Gath beast as he went deep, but it does give a double kill over to NXI the whole time. But CLG Faith should be forced away from the objective. Cho'Gath has done what he needs to so far.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah, maybe you're right.
It's Senna Seraphine. It's Senna Seraphine. They're going to stall this out, reset. Sketch has TP if he wants to get back. TLF pushed a little bit too hard.
And yeah, TP, there it is, coming in. Looking immediately to try to see if they can continue to look for this. Oh, but nah. The bigger problem right there was a little bit of a reset. We can see that Aspect, Surdy, both booking it back. This is just going to be a long, extended fight, isn't it?
We might be in for it again. I got to say, Surdy going a little bit too far forward with Aspect there as they went in without the rest of the team. And again, these fights go long. You can see the health bar of CLG Faith still topped off. Rovex wasn't able to reset. Now we're just going to have to see if Aspect can get the same amount of poke down.
Looking for the poke on NXI. Nice rupture on into the back line onto town. Looking to see if they can split up the fight. But that's a huge fight on the other side by CLGF, but they couldn't get the kills fast enough. Instead, it's turned around. Double knockup, triple knockup by Bajani. With Rovex being so low, they got to get on top of him. Town cannot dash in as they lost Sketch to the huge snipe. Shelly! Oh, it was Shelly?
Shelly got him!
Oh my god! You mad lad.
What is going on in this game, Mad Magical? We just had a 2-minute arrow fight where Shelly got a kill. Everyone throwing down here, as I gotta say, TLF, I don't think they played that great. I'm really surprised the CLG is even fighting this Herald, because they need Senna to scale. But who did play this great? It was Surdy in the start of the fight. These knockups, look at how not scared Surdy is of Sion. He knows that whenever there is a Q charging, he can eat it or he can just silence it. So he's fishing for the backline. He's trying to make sure he's taking away all the health bars. Rovex catches the Sion ult. Aspect finds all the poke. This fight's doomed for CLG, and their comp is not online. Like, this isn't... They want to be grouped up as 5 and fighting, but they need items before they're able to do this. This is where they go way too deep. I don't know what is going on here with TLF. They don't even ward the brush. It's an oopsie.
This is what I call hooliganeries.
I mean,
you know,
we just keep on going, man.
This is hooliganeries, because this is just nothing but fighting.
I mean, I wish Shelly had a pedometer on for this. I feel like Shelly just got the most amount of steps. She was so angry that they made her work so hard that she actually punched someone on the Rift afterwards to wrap this one up. That's about where things were. Credit to Sketch, though. Really good find on LGX. Actually gives them a chance to win the fight, but Town was already forced out. The carries are gone, and then Shelly just gets mad.
Oh, yeah, look at her. She's pissed. She angry. Wow.
Oh, my God. Oh, God. Oh, that is... Shelly. Shelly's going to be in big trouble for that one with the Summoner's Council. I don't know if you can do that against our champions here.
Well, it did happen, and because that happened, TLF were able to pick up the Rift Herald, immediately popping that into mid lane.
Everyone run.
This is the TLF Shelly this game, right? Getting the kill on a Sketch. Nice charge mid lane. Only taking 1 plate, though. Not as much as you would want.
Yeah, I mean, the map is so biased towards TLF that even a neutral is like getting them kills, you know? It's not even like go minions. It's like we have the neutrals on our side.
It's harkening back to the C9 blue buff days.
Oh, good times. Yeah.
I know. I love this. All right, so right now, let's gotta reset. Look at what's happening at the moment.
We got more 5v5s coming on.
I want to give you some room to breathe and to talk about the player narratives.
No, this is all you.
Yeah, but they're just like, you know what? We want to fight over and over again. Oh, okay.
Requiem. Leandres is burning.
There we
now,
go.
The dragon started.
Here comes the engagement. Body blocked by Rovex again. Encore connect, but they just cannot get through. Leona quick and finally she'll fall, but they're turning onto this dragon. Town knocked up by the Rupture. Nice Vanguard's edge, but they are making sure they can make quick work of Town as he runs away. Smite secured by NXI. Trade of the life of your mid laner for it.
So it is Dragon for CLG Faith. I will say I think TLF's going to get at least a few points, maybe in the mid lane turret off the back of that. And you can see the idea for CLG. It's Sion ult in the Seraphine ult. Use that to chain everyone down and make sure you get a free kill. Leona's tough to get through with the W, I should say, but still, they were able to find Rovex. I think the issue is the fact that, like, this is a front to back. It really wants to take angles. It's really weird right now that, like, because CLG Faith, they're grouping as 5, it feels like Town is going to be really far behind in this game and not getting a ton of value as... Oh, hold on.
Wow! That damage right now from City onto Aaron. Requiem up or up, that would certainly be a kill on Aaron. But not going to be the fact. Instead, just getting the bot lane pushed back towards their tower.
2k gold lead here for TLF. Again, we like the scaling of CLG Faith. If they can get this Seraphine online, looking like it will be the Leandres build, which you don't even need Moonstone with all the healing this champion packs.
I was about to say, you have that and Senna.
Yeah.
You don't need it.
Yeah. Good to go. Just take some of that damage. I think the one concern right now for the side of CLG Faith is Cho'Gath's pretty far ahead of the Sion, a little bit further ahead of the curve, and you can see, wouldn't be surprised if TLF actually decides to switch up their lane assignments to make sure that Cho'Gath is going into the Sion. Then again, okay, they're actually going to make sure it's going into the Aurelia. Jace doesn't like Aurelia in the long lane, so but they are losing the losing tank matchup they did draft into. So I think Surdy could still deal with Aurelia at this point. There is no Bork, and it is a finished Heartsteel.
I'm also looking at Aspect. I don't think that he's going to be any slouch in this fight against Bajani.
Oh, he's going to be just fine.
Yeah, he's going to be perfectly fine. He's got a lead over him. There's no mythic for Bajani.
Baby.
Right, Gore Drinker, and you can see that poke. No mythic for Bajani. He's going to get whittled out every single time he tries to step up.
No more points, so Aspect gets to work on this turret. Well done. And you can see CLG Faith, they're going to be the ones swapping up the side lane, trying to get the Aurelia into the Jace. So we're going to see this mind game throughout the mid game here. As again, Town with the Aurelia wants to be funneled, wants to be fed, wants to be picking that side lane matchup for himself and going into the Jace. We'll see if Town can make work of it.
But the start will fall first before Town can show up.
Jace.
Yep. Town realizing it, saying, all right, you know what? Fine. You have your turret. But unfortunately, while they were trying to swap these lanes up, that almost had a lot of damage Surdy was able to get onto this bot tier 1 as well.
And it's not going to get any better. As you can see, the item breakpoint here for Surdy versus Bajani. Slightly ever so much in favor. Just a little bit. A little bit. Void Monster going to be hitting hard, and meanwhile,
Man, these
City.
Skittles are packing a punch right now. City doesn't care, though. It's the whole Karthus gaming. I'll die, sure, but I'll get the damage necessary
comes the
beforehand. Requiem, how much? Woo! Nearly snipes down Aaron Foley, but that's going to be a huge knockup while Town looks to re-engage onto Surdy, having that blade of the Ring King. But Surdy is fine.
Yep.
Wow, yeah, you were right. That poke eviscerated Town, and Bajani, he'll be taken to Town as well because he's in the grave.
I told you that was the game plan, man. Zin, Aurelia jump in. Surdy just got to the Nom. He's breaking it out, and oh boy, CLG Faith, they're in trouble. And I gotta say, this is not how they want to play out the comp. They need to wait. They need to buy time. They need to get these items finished. They need levels too. I mean, this comp scales to oblivion. Them going in here, Surdy's the one that TPs first. They're fighting when they need to keep Town in the side lane to get some resources. Like, what can Aurelia do? She goes in, she lines everything on the Cho'Gath, and Cho'Gath just noms her.
Just yum.
Yep.
Tragic. It's really tragic. TLF playing this one so well as well. Making sure they're using that poke initially. Not giving enough breathing room for any healing to come in from CLG Faith as well. Well played from TLF. And this is a team, you know, we ask how they're going to perform going into playoffs. We were talking about how Surdy, he is the main protagonist for this team. But how they've been playing lately, we're seeing that there's been such more great growth of every single one of their players. Aspect was a player that you and Desrex were talking about beforehand, and how he's been able to play. But LJX, a player who had been retired beforehand, had played collegiate, and then stepping into this role, he's really stepping up in massive strides in how he's looking compared to when we first saw him initially on the team.
Yeah, I mean, when you join late, you're always going to have the most room to make up, and it is good to see LJX take some of those steps. I also think that Rovex, on this patch, when he is able to control fights, much better player. And I know it's something he was really excited for. It's been good to see, and I don't know. I think the key to this team later on is going to be City. If City can continue to have performances like this, then maybe we can see TLF make a little bit of a run in playoffs. I know I had them as one of the provisional teams I thought would not get relegated when the season started, given some of the individual talent that we had on this roster. Definitely want to see if they can really step up and meet that, as we have...
Okay, Requiem. Getting through
Requiem
the shields, but only...
W.
Oh, low! Nice poke and snipe from Aspect!
And while this is going on, guess what? Karthus, he's not grouped up. He's on the Dragon. Again,
Wait, are you saying he wasn't a part of the fight with the Requiem?
I mean, he was. He used R for Seraphine and Power W. It'd be what it do. But again, Town's group this entire time. Aurelia is so far behind, and when you get behind as Aurelia, you are just cannon fodder. That's unfortunately kind of what's happening as the rest of CLG Faith. They just don't have the firepower to deal with what TLF's packing at the moment. When they keep on grouping, they keep on losing. They're not gaining resources elsewhere, and it's just getting worse.
It's playing in this fast and aggressive style that we had asked for TLF when we saw this composition, and they're doing so. Even if it has been a bit messy in some aspects, it doesn't matter. They still want to play pedal to the metal. You make a mistake here or there, it doesn't matter. You just look for the next play.
I see. I feel like the Aspect part's been clean, as that was a pretty nice power shot class.
Nice.
The Jace has been
Nice.
clean. Sorry, I had to make a bad joke.
Yeah.
We're wearing sweaters, and we said that we're professors for the day.
You know what? Normally, I hate when you make these jokes, but that one was actually clean.
Yeah, thank you. We do our best as City. Going to keep on power clearing as the Karthus most CS in the game. That's what we were going for there. Big deal again for the Karthus, who needs to keep on scaling, keep on going. And we will see if...
All right, can I just say really quick? 30, lacking, only 4 stacks. Come on, man, pick up the game.
That's true. I mean, there have been a lot of fights. I think he's been ulting... he got close on Town for the execute. He had the ult in there, else he would have dashed away.
But. Yeah, I mean, it was an understandable one there. But
Okay, here
the
we go.
greedy Cho'Gath, right? You
Here we go.
gotta
This is what CLG needs
Oh,
to do.
I like this.
Yep.
Looking for Aspect. Got to shut down on him. Nice flash away, though. That's going to be the Vanguard's edge. Aspect healing up a lot with Gore Drinker. Oh, no.
Oh,
CLG Faith. What has happened? This looked beautiful initially, but Aspect outplayed you all. Knock up on a Bajani as
He's got
well.
Feast coming.
He's got the Feast, but he doesn't need it. He wanted a killing spree for Aspect.
Yeah, when Aurelia's losing the side lane, that's when you know things aren't going too great.
Oh, and
Meanwhile,
they try another play on LJX, but it didn't work either. Rovek's going to be the target flashing away, but he's rooted up still. Both of them surviving. Re-engage on the other side by Addix out of City, but he's 3 levels down to this Karthus. What can you do at CLG Faith, a composition that needs to scale when you are down 8,000 gold at 20 minutes?
all right, now it's retreat. Try and make sure that healing comes in later as the map is all TLF. And TLF, I mean, they made this game crazy early. I think that part of that is that they did understand scaling's not great for them this game in some aspects. But hey, I gotta say, when Aurelia, it's good now. It's damn good now.
There you go. You got to eat your words, Covey.
Well, you know, I did say they're waiting for the healing to come in. It didn't come in there.
No, it didn't. They didn't have time.
No, that was a big blast into a big arrow, and that's a kill on the board. Poor Senna.
Yeah, how do you heal in time for that? Literally, the shock blast came in, and the amount of time the animation would take for Q from Senna was still too long before the piercing arrow came in.
That's what we call teamwork, baby. Layer in that poke.
Teamwork makes the dream work, and
On
right
the
now,
squishies. That's what we like to see.
TLF, if you just look, like, when you look at some of their games in isolation, like a game like this, you talked about how this was a team that you looked at the professional teams and thought, this is a team that has a high likelihood of not getting relegated, not having to fight for their spot.
Yep.
You see a game like this, and you could definitely believe that.
I mean, it is against not as strong a competition. You know, I think the TLF still, it's like,
Don't
not like
matter,
they
man.
haven't struggled this split.
Momentum.
That is true. That really is what we're talking about this week for TLF, because as we do get into the playoffs, I mean, obviously these teams, they need to perform, right? There's a lot riding on our provisional teams. They have, one would argue, more stakes than our challengers teams, truly, given that they are the ones eligible for that
They definitely.
promotion relegation.
There's no argument to be had. It's definitely more stakes for these players just because of that relegation tournament. Obviously, you can make an argument for challengers teams when it comes to making sure they hold on to their spots within the challengers ecosystem. But provisional, it's hard to argue when you have a challenge
Sion.
like that. And now Sion tried to get onto Surdy, but they just couldn't connect. And here is the damage. Requiem for a dream, baby. That's Rovex. He'll finally fall, but the damage onto this backline. Sniping down Avixai. Nom, making another stack. A double kill for Surdy as well.
Cho'Gath is a bit of a problem, man. You cannot enter any fight without dealing with Cho'Gath, as these ruptures have been big. And Surdy, he's just cruising on out of here, as there is no damage that's significant enough to deal with him. He is a menace in the front line, and TLF, they're going to be cruising this game 1 victory.
As they're on top of Baron at the moment. No nom stacks, so Surdy realizes, hey, I'll just keep this. Look at this.
I mean, he got a nom stack there.
All right, one rupture. The silence didn't connect, so Aaron will get away.
Meanwhile, Sketch.
Uh-oh.
Find a nice route. There is a dragon up. This will be soul point for TLF.
Surdy's getting close to the feast.
Yeah, I feel like Surdy's just buying time so that he can go feast the neutral. But look at how Surdy's playing this. He does not care about Sion. Every rupture he's fishing for the backline, and that one finds town. The chain CC from TLF is beautiful as Aurelia's one shot. After that, look, again, Surdy fishes for backline, ignoring Sion. Eats Xin Zhao. Who cares about Sion? He does not do any damage. The fact that Surdy is being such a nuisance to the backline of CLG Faith, it's making the fight so much harder on them. And I love how he's ignoring the Sion, right? If that backline can't pump out damage, the Sion does nothing, right? He's a ball of stats to stand in front of him.
You're just like, hey, Sion, what damage do you do? What can you do? Even if you get the knock up on me, it doesn't matter. I can eat that like I can eat you.
Oh, that time around he did eat Xin.
Oh my!
Oh, do we have an R
that
press?
Was a double skittle.
Press R, City?
See?
And we should press R, yep.
Sketch has healed up a lot, though. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, but that's going to force them all the way back. But Aaron, too, who hadn't gotten hit by the Skittles, is
Double
forced back to
16.
base. So now, You just get 2 objectives. You take both inhibitor turrets, and you'll get both inhibitors in mid-bot. Oh my god!
Okay. Well, I believe that when you get up 10k gold, it feels like, you know, the poke from TLF, it's evolved like, you know, New Aurelian Soul in this patch. Sky's Descent. The poke has just evolved. It's doing way too much damage.
To be honest, I do hope that at some point today, we get a cat game. Just saying.
Well, we saw it on the ban list for game 1, and I think that especially this level of play, we're going to see it on the ban list. He's the
I know, but I want to see it, Cubby.
I kind of do too. I don't want to get too off topic here as Acefull's not in the game, but I do somewhat despise the champion. They took away...
We'll get to, oh, I know. We can get the whole argument there.
I like the stars. I miss them.
Yeah,
He's too linear.
Nah, I agree. The stars made him very unique and dynamic, and I like that as well. Yeah. But, like you said, not in this game. As Surdy, he's just walking into this jungle. He's like, there is literally not enough damage on your team to deal with me anymore. You have Blade of the Ruin King Aurelia with the Wit's End as well. It's still not going to stop me. I can walk up, and all 5 of you can be there, and I'll still walk away clean.
You don't need vision when you got a tank. Just space check everything for you. It's pretty nice. Oh boy.
Okay, let's see how much damage. Let's see how much. Okay, the shields did eat up a lot of that, so it does actually make it a little bit more difficult.
Oh, deep TP.
That is a deep TP, and they know this. That's way too late. They jump, getting the flash away from Anixai, but that is a nice solar flare with a double encore, not helping out anything from the poke as Bajani tried to knock him up underneath the turret, but we already knew how this game was boiling down. It was going over to TLF as down, but that TP behind, realizing there's no fight left. My teammates that remain are inside of the fountain, just trying to survive, holding on to dear life while minions wail away on the Nexus. Aspect just decides he wants another kill onto town before being the game won by TLF.
Yeah, town TP'd out of town and then got ran out of town by the rest of TLF. As Team Liquid first, another win on the board. I know that they were licking their chops coming into this week, looking at their schedule, and again, gaining that confidence to prove that, hey, we can take down provisional teams in this league that are below us. Definitely something that Team Liquid first were looking for. That first game, very convincing on their end. That was a first pick Karthus into an absolute blasting.
Yeah, I mean, this is also what you want to see out of a team like TLF, is how well do they do against the teams below them, showing that there's not just a small little stream between them, but there's an entire canyon that separates them from the bottom, and that gives them a lot of hope and momentum going into playoffs. But of course, it is a best of 2. So we're going to toss to a break, and when we come back, we'll bring back Desrex for our halftime show, so make sure you stick around.